debate as to the correct response to the salutation. Should one reply, "I feel good," using feel as a copulative to link the subject I to its subjective complement good, or "I feel well," modifying with an adverb the subject's state of being? I don't know. I'm a professor of 17th century poetry, specializing in the holy sonnets of John Donne, so I just say, fine. Of course, it's not very often that I do feel fine. I've been asked, "How are you feeling today?" while I was throwing up into a plastic wash basin. I've been asked as I was emerging from a 4-hour operation with a tube in every orifice, "How are you feeling today?" I'm waiting for the moment when somebody asks me this question, and I'm dead. I'm a little sorry I'll miss that. Of course, I would not be wearing this costume at the time, so the question's ironic significance would not be fully apparent, as I trust it is now. The Fairy Queen, this is not. And I was dismayed to discover that the play would contain elements of humor. I've been, at best, an unwitting accomplice. It is not my intention to give away the plot, but I think I die at the end. They've given me less than 2 hours. If I were poetically inclined, I might employ a threadbare metaphor, the sands of time slipping through the hourglass, the 2-hour glass. Now our sands are almost run, more little, and then Shakespeare? I trust the name is familiar? At the moment, however, I am disinclined to poetry. I've got less than 2 hours. Then, curtain. I'll never forget the time I found out I had cancer.
You have cancer.
See? Unforgettable. It was something of a shock. I had to sit down.
Please sit down, Miss Baring. You have advanced metastatic ovarian cancer.
Go on.
You are a professor, Miss Baring.
Like yourself, Dr. Kalikian.
Well, yes. Now then, you present with a growth that, unfortunately, went undetected in stages 1, 2, and 3. Now, it is an insidious adenocarcinoma which has spread from the primary adnexal max.
Insidious?
Insidious means undetectable at a...
Insidious means treacherous.
Shall I continue?
By all means.
Good. An invasive epithelial carcinoma. The most effective treatment modality is a chemotherapeutic agent. We are developing an experimental combination of drugs designed for primary site ovarian, the target specificity of stage 3 and beyond administration. Am I going too fast? Good. You will be hospitalized as an inpatient for treatment each cycle. You will be on complete intake and output measurements for 3 days after each treatment to monitor kidney function. After the initial 8 cycles, you'll have another battery of tests. The anti-neoplastic will inevitably affect some healthy cells, including those lining the gastrointestinal tract from the lips to the anus and the hair follicles. We will, of course, be relying on your resolve to withstand.
Hair follicles? My resolve?
Some of the more pernicious side effects.
Pernicious? That doesn't seem...
Miss Baring.
I beg your pardon.
Do you have any questions so far?
Please, go on.
Perhaps some of these terms are new, I realize.
Oh, no, you're being very thorough.
I make a point of it. I always emphasize it with my students.
I do, too. I make a point of it. Thoroughness, I tell my students. But they are constitutionally averse to painstaking words.
Yours, too?
Oh, it's worse every year.
This is not dermatology. It is medical oncology, for Christ's sakes.
My students read through a text once, and think it's time for a break.
Mine are blind.
Well, mine are deaf.
You just have to hope.
I suppose.
Where were we, Dr. Baring?
I believe I was being thoroughly diagnosed.
Great. Now, the tumor is spreading very quickly. This treatment is very aggressive. So far, so good?
You needn't worry.
Good. Excellent.
I should have asked more questions. I know there's going to be a test. I have cancer. Insidious cancer with pernicious side effects. No, the treatment has pernicious side effects. I have stage 4 metastatic ovarian cancer. There is no stage 5. Oh, and I have to be tough. It appears to be a matter, as the saying goes, of life and death. I know all about life and death. I am, after all, a scholar of Donne's holy sonnets, which explore mortality in greater depth than any other body of work in the English language. And I know for a fact that I'm tough, a demanding professor, uncompromising, never one to run from a challenge. That's why I chose, while a student of the great E.M. Ashford, to study Donne. Professor Ashford?
Do it again.
It's something of a shock. I had to sit down.
Please sit down. Your essay on Holy Sonnet 6, Ms. Baring, is a melodrama with a veneer of scholarship unworthy of you, to say nothing of Donne. Do it again.
You
must begin with the text, Ms. Baring, not with a feeling. Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. You have entirely missed the point of the poem because, I must tell you, you have used an edition of the text that is inauthentically punctuated. In the Gardner edition...
That edition was checked out of the library.
Ms. Baring.
Sorry.
You take this too lightly, Ms. Baring. This is metaphysical poetry, not the modern novel. Standards of scholarship and critical reading, which one would apply to any other text, are simply insufficient. The effort must be total for the results to be meaningful. Do you think the punctuation of the last line of the sonnet is merely an insignificant detail? The sonnet begins with a valiant struggle with death, calling on all the forces of intellect and drama to vanquish the enemy. It is ultimately about overcoming the seemingly insuperable barrier separating life, death, and eternal life. In the edition you chose, this profoundly simple meaning is sacrificed to hysterical punctuation, and death, capital D, shall be no more, semicolon, death, capital D, comma, thou shalt die, exclamation point. If you go for this sort of thing, I suggest you take up Shakespeare. Gardner's edition of the Holy Sonnets returns to the Westmoreland manuscript source of 1610, not for sentimental reasons, I assure you, but because Helen Gardner is a scholar. It reads, and death shall be no more, comma, death thou shalt die. Nothing but a breath, a comma, separates life from life everlasting. It is very simple, really. With the original punctuation restored, death is no longer something to act out on the stage with exclamation points. It's a comma, a pause. This way, the uncompromising way, one learns something from this poem, wouldn't you say? Life, death, soul, God, past, present, not insuperable barriers, not semicolons, just a comma.
Life, death. I see. It's metaphysical conceit. It's wit. Oh, I'll go back to the library and rewrite the paper.
It is not wit, Ms. Baring. It is truth. The paper is not the point.
It isn't?
Vivian, you're a bright woman. Use your intelligence. Don't go back to the library. Go out. Enjoy yourself with your friends,
I went outside. The sun was very great. I walked around past the... There were students on the lawn thinking about nothing, laughing. The insuperable barrier between one thing and another is just a comma. Simple human truth, uncompromising scholarly standards. They're connected? I just couldn't. I went back to the library. Anyway, 8 cycles of chemotherapy. Give me the full dose every time.
Name?
Vivian Baring.
Huh?
V-I-V-I-A-N, Baring, B-E-A-R-I.
Doctor?
Yes, I have a PhD.
Your doctor?
Oh, Dr. Sylvia Kalikian.
Right here, and don't move.
I'm a doctor of philosophy.
Take a deep breath and hold it.
Okay, a scholar of 17th century poetry.
Turn sideways, arms behind your head, and hold it.
I've made an immeasurable contribution to the discipline of English literature. I am, in short, a force.
Name?
Lucy, Countess of Bedford.
I don't see that here.
My name is Vivian Baring, B-E-A-R-I-N-G. Dr. Kalikian is my doctor.
Okay, lay down.
After an outstanding undergraduate career, I studied with Professor E.M. Ashford for 3 years, during which time I learned by instruction and example what it means to be a scholar of distinction. As his research fellow, my principal task was the alphabetizing of index cards. My dissertation, Ejaculations in 17th Century Manuscript and Printed Editions of the Holy Sonnets, a Comparison, was revised for publication in the Journal of English, a very prestigious venue for a first appearance.
Where's your wheelchair?
I do not know. I was busy just now.
Well, how are you going to get out of here?
I do not know. Perhaps you'd like me to stay?
I guess I gotta go find you a chair.
Don't inconvenience yourself on my behalf. My second article, a classic explication of Donne's sonnet Death Be Not Proud, was published in Critical Discourse. The success of the essay prompted the University Press to solicit a volume on the 12 Holy Sonnets in the 1633 edition, which I produced in the remarkably short span of 3 years. My book, entitled Made Cunningly, remains an immense success in paper as well as cloth. In it, I devote one chapter to a thorough examination of each sonnet, discussing every word in extensive detail.
Here you go.
I summarize previous critical interpretations of the text and offer my own analysis. It is exhaustive. Bearing, Bearing, Kalikian.
Here, hold still.
For how long?
Just a little while.
Scholarly study of poetic text requires a capacity for scrupulously detailed examination, particularly the poetry of John Donne. To the scholar, to the mind comprehensively trained in the subtleties of 17th century vocabulary, versification, and theological, historical, geographical, political, and mythological allusions, Donne's wit is a way to see how good you really are. After 20 years, I can say with confidence, no one is quite as good as I.
Susie?
Oh, hi.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, go ahead. Ms. Baring, this is Jason Posner. He's going to do your history, ask a bunch of questions. He's Dr. Kalikian's fellow.
Professor Baring, I'm Dr. Posner, clinical fellow in the medical oncology branch working with Dr. Kalikian. Professor Baring, I was an undergraduate at the UI. I took your course in 17th century poetry.
You did?
Yes, I thought it was excellent.
Thank you. Were you an English major?
Oh, no, biochemistry. But you can't get into medical school unless they're well-rounded. And, well, I made a bet with myself that I could get an A in the 3 hardest courses on campus.
How'd you do, Jace?
Success.
Really?
Well, A-. It was a very tough course. All right, I'll just pull this over. Here we go. Get the proxemics right here. There. Good. Now, I'm going to be taking your history. It's a medical interview, and then I'll give you an exam.
I believe Dr. Kalikian has already done that.
Well, I know, but Dr. Kalikian wants me to do it too. Now, I'll be taking a few notes as we go along.
Very well.
Okay, let's get started. How are you feeling today?
Fine, thank you.
Oh, good. And how is your general health?
Fine.
Excellent. Okay, we know you're an academic.
Yes, we've established that.
So we don't need to get into your interesting work.
No.
And how old are you?
50.
And are you married?
No.
Are your parents living?
No.
All right. How and when did they die?
My father, suddenly, when I was 20, a heart attack. My mother, slowly, when I was 41 and 42, of cancer. Breast cancer.
Cancer?
Breast cancer.
I see. Any siblings?
No.
All right. Do you have any questions so far?
Not so far.
All right. Well, that about does it for your life history.
Yes, that's all there is to my life history.
All right. Now I'm going to ask you about your past medical history. Have you ever been hospitalized?
I had my tonsils out when I was 8.
Okay. And have you ever been pregnant?
No.
Ever had heart murmurs or high blood pressure?
No.
Stomach, liver, kidney problems?
No.
Venereal disease, uterine infections?
No.
Thyroid, diabetes, cancer?
No. Oh, cancer? Yes.
When?
Now.
Well, not including now.
In that case, no.
Okay. Clinical depression, nervous breakdown, suicide attempts?
No.
And do you smoke?
No.
Ethanol?
I'm sorry?
Alcohol?
Oh, ethanol. Yes, I drink wine.
Okay. How much and how often?
A glass of wine with dinner occasionally, and perhaps a scotch every now and then.
Do you use any substances?
Such as?
You know, marijuana, cocaine, crack cocaine, PCP, ecstasy, poppers, quaaludes, anything of that?
No.
Okay. Well, do you drink caffeinated beverages?
Oh, yes.
And which ones?
Coffee. A few cups a day.
How many?
2 to 6. But I really don't moderate.
How often do you undergo routine medical checkups?
Not as often as I should, probably. But I felt fine. I really have.
So the answer is?
Every 3 to 5 years.
And what do you do for exercise?
Pace.
Are you having sexual relations?
Not at the moment.
Are you pre- or post-menopausal?
Pre.
And when was the first day of your last period?
10 days, 2 weeks ago.
Okay. And, all right, when did you first notice your present complaints?
This time now?
Yes.
Oh, about 4 months ago, I felt a pain in my stomach, in my abdomen. Like a cramp, but not the same.
And how did it feel?
Like a cramp.
But not the same.
No, duller and stronger. I can't describe it.
Okay, and what came next?
Well, I don't know. I started noticing my body, little things. I would be teaching and feel a sharp pain.
What kind of pain?
Sharp and sudden. That would go away, or I would be tired, exhausted. I was working on a major project, the article on John Donne for the Oxford Encyclopedia of English Literature. It was a great honor, but I had a very strict deadline.
So you would say that you were under stress?
It wasn't so much more stress than usual. I just couldn't withstand it this time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
All right, so
I went to Dr. Chen, my gynecologist, after I had turned in the article, explained all this. She examined me and sent me to Jefferson, the internist, and he sent me to Kalikian because he thought I might have a tumor.
And that's it?
Till now.
Well, it's very interesting. Well, I guess we'll start the examination. It'll only take a few minutes. Why don't you, just kind of sort of lie back and relax. Just be very relaxed. This won't hurt. All right, I'm just going to get the sheet here. Okay. Just stay calm, okay? And put your feet in those stirrups. Okay, good. Just there. Okay. now.
I wish I'd given him an A.
All right, we're ready, Professor Bering. Just get these on. Okay, and lift this up. Okay, just relax. Okay. Susie, isn't it interesting that I had Professor Bering?
Yeah, I wish I'd taken some literature. I don't know anything about poetry.
Professor Bering was a very highly regarded person on campus. Looked very good on my transcript that I had taken her course. Okay. Well, they even asked me about it in my interview for med school. Jesus.
What?
What?
Yeah, I survived Bering's course, no problem, hey? Okay. All right, we're about done, okay? That's it. All right. Professor Bering, just take your feet out of there. Okay, I gotta go. I gotta go.
That was hard. That was... Well, one thing can be said for an 8-month course of cancer treatment. It's highly educational. I'm learning how to suffer. Yes, it is mildly uncomfortable to have an electrocardiogram, but the agony of a proctosigmoidoscopy sweeps it from memory. Yes, it was embarrassing to have to wear a nightgown all day long. 2 nightgowns. But that seemed like positive privilege compared to watching myself go bald. And yes, having a former student give me a pelvic exam was thoroughly degrading, and I use the term deliberately. But I could not have imagined the depths of humiliation that... Oh! Oh, God. Oh, can't be. Steady. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, God. What's left? I haven't eaten in 2. What's left? You may remark that my vocabulary has taken a turn for the Anglo-Saxon. God, I'm going to barf my brains out. If I actually did barf my brains out, it would be a great loss to my discipline. Of course, not a few of my colleagues would be relieved, to say nothing of my students. It's not that I'm controversial, just uncompromising. Alarm. If the word went around that Vivian Bering had barfed her brains out, well, first, my colleagues, most of whom are my former students, would scramble madly for my position. Then their consciences would flare up, so to honor my memory, they would put together a collection of their essays about John Donne. The volume would begin with a warm introduction, capturing my most endearing qualities. It would be short, but sweet. Publish and perish. Now, watch this. I have to ring the bell to get someone to come and measure this emesis and record the amount on a chart of my intake and output. This counts as output.
How are you doing, Ms. Baring? You having some nausea?
Yes.
Why don't I take that? Here.
It's about 300 cc's.
That all?
It was very hard work.
Yep, 300. Good guess. Okay, anything else I can get for you? Some Jell-O or anything?
Thank you, no.
You okay all by yourself?
Yes.
Not having a lot of visitors, are you?
None, to be precise.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Is there somebody you want me to call for you?
That won't be necessary.
Well, I'll just pop my head in every once in a while and see how you're coming along. Kalikian and the fellows should be in soon. If there's anything you need, you just ring.
Thank you.
Okay, just call.
In this dramatic structure, you'll see the most interesting aspects of my tenure as an inpatient receiving experimental chemotherapy for advanced and metastatic ovarian cancer. But as I'm the scholar before an impresario, I feel obligated to document what it's like here most of the time. Between the dramatic climaxes, between the spectacles. In truth, it's like this. You cannot imagine how time can be so slow. It hangs. It weighs. And yet, there's so little of it. It goes slowly, and yet it's so scarce. If I'm writing this scene, it would last a full 15 minutes. I would lie here, and you would sit there. Not to worry. Brevity is the soul of wit. But if you think 8 months of cancer treatment is tedious for the audience, consider how it feels to play my part. All right. It's Friday morning. Grand rounds. Action.
Dr. Baring?
Dr. Kalikian?
Jason?
Oh, yes. Professor Baring, how are you feeling today?
Fine. Just fine.
That's great. That's just great.
Grand rounds. The term is theirs. Here, rounds seems to signify darting around the main issue, which I suppose would be the struggle for life. My life. With heated discussions of side effects, other complaints, additional treatments.
The primary site is here, the left ovary. Metastases are suspected in the peritoneal cavity, here and here.
Grand rounds is not grand opera, I assure you. But compared to lying here, it is positively dramatic.
Full lymphatic involvement.
Full of subservience, hierarchy, gratuitous displays, sublimated rivalries. I feel right at home. It's just like a graduate seminar. This is much easier. I just hold still and look cancerous. It requires less acting every time.
Evidence of primary site shrinkage.
Excellent command of tales.
Excellent command of details.
I taught him, you know.
Okay, problem areas with Hex and Ven?
Myelosuppression.
Well, first, of course, is myelosuppression, a lowering of blood cell counts. It goes without saying. With this combination of agents, nephrotoxicity will be next.
Go on.
Well, the kidneys are designed to filter out impurities in the bloodstream. Trying to filter the chemotherapeutic agent out of the bloodstream, the kidneys shut down.
Intervention.
Hydration.
Monitoring.
Full recording of fluid intake and output, as you see here on these graphs, to monitor hydration and kidney function. Totals monitored daily by the clinical fellow as per the protocol.
Anybody else? Side effects?
Nausea and vomiting.
Jason?
Routine.
Pain while urinating.
Routine.
Psychological depression.
No way.
Anything else? Other complaints with Hex and Vin? Come on.
Mouth sores?
Not yet.
Skin rash?
No.
Why do we waste our time, Dr. Bering?
I do not know, Dr. Leakin.
Use your eyes. Jesus God. Hair loss?
Come on.
It doesn't
I can
count.
see it.
Jason?
Hair loss after first cycle of treatment.
That's better. Dr. Bering, full dose. Excellent. Keep pushing your fluids. Jason?
Huh?
Clinical?
Oh, right, yeah. Thank you, Professor Bering. You've been very cooperative.
Wasn't that grand? At times, this excessively detailed examination, the scrutiny seems to me to be a nefarious business. On the other hand, what is the alternative? Ignorance? Ignorance may be bliss, but it is not a very noble goal. So I play my part. I receive chemotherapy, throw up, am subjected to countless indignities. Feel better, go home. 8 cycles. The neat little strophes. Oh, there have been the usual variations, subplots, red herrings, hepatotoxicity, that's liver poison, neuropathy, that's nerve death. They are medical terms. I look them up. It has always been my custom to treat words with respect. I can recall the time, the very hour of the very day, I knew words would be my life's work. It was my 5th birthday. I like that one best.
Read another.
I think I'll read The Tale of the Flopsy Bunnies. The Tale of the Flopsy Bunnies. It has little bunnies on the front. The Tale of the Flopsy Bunnies by Beatrix Potter. It is said that the effect of eating too much lettuce is so poor. Stop. Or what is that word?
Sound it out.
Super superific. What does that mean?
Soporific, causing sleep.
Causing sleep?
Makes you sleepy.
Soporific means makes you sleepy?
Correct.
Soporific means makes you sleepy. Soporific.
Use it in a sentence. What has a soporific effect on you?
Soporific effect on me.
What makes you sleepy?
Oh, nothing.
Correct.
So what about you?
What has a soporific effect on me? Let me think. Boring conversation, I suppose, after dinner.
Me too. Boring conversation.
Carry on.
It is said that the effect of eating too much lettuce is soporific. The little buddies in the picture are asleep. They're sleeping, just like he said, because of soporific. Illustration bore out the meaning of the word, just as she had explained it. At the time, it seemed like magic. So imagine the effect that the words of John Donne first had on me. Ratiocination, concatenation, coruscation, and tergiversation. Medical terms are less evocative. Still, I want to know what the doctors mean when they say, anatomize me. And I will grant that in this particular field of endeavor, they possess a more potent arsenal of terminology than I. My only defense is the acquisition of vocabulary. Fever and neutropenia.
When did it start?
I was at home reading, and I felt so bad. I called. Fever and neutropenia. They said to come in.
You did the right thing to come. Did somebody drive you?
Cab. I took a taxi.
Here, why don't we sit? Just sit there a minute. I'll get Jason. He's on call tonight. Get him to give you some meds. I'm glad I was here on nights. I'll make sure you get to bed soon, okay? It'll just be a minute. I'll get you some juice, some nice juice with lots of ice.
Lights. I left the lights on at my house.
Don't you worry. It'll be all right.
How are you feeling, Professor Bering?
My teeth are chattering.
Vitals?
Temp 39.4, pulse 120, respiration 36, chills and sweating.
Fever and neutropenia. It's a shake and bake. Blood cultures and urine stat. Admitter. Prepare for reverse isolation. Start with acetaminophen and then vitals every 4 hours.
Jason, I think you need to talk to Kalikin about lowering the dose for the next cycle. It's too much for her like this.
Lower the dose? No way. Full dose. He's tough. You can take it. Wake me up when the counts come back from the lab.
Good morning, Dr. Bering. 5th cycle, full dose. Definite progress. Everything okay?
Yes.
Doing well. Isolation is no problem. Couple days. Think of it as a vacation.
Oh.
Jason?
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
In isolation, I am isolated. For once, I can use the term literally. The chemotherapeutic agents eradicating my cancer have also eradicated my immune system. In my present condition, every living thing is a health hazard to me.
I really haven't got time for this.
particularly healthcare professionals.
I mean, just to look at the I&O sheets for 1 minute, and it takes half an hour to do precautions. 4, 7-Eleven, 250 twice. Okay. This clinical. Professor Bering, how are you feeling today?
Fine, shaking somewhat from the chills.
Well, the IV will kick in any time now. No problem. Listen, I gotta go. Keep pushing the fluids.
I am not in isolation because I have cancer, because I have a tumor this size of a grapefruit. No, I am in isolation because I'm being treated for cancer. The treatment imperils my health. Herein lies the paradox. John Donne would revel in it. I would revel in it if he wrote a poem about it. My students would flounder in it, because paradox is too difficult to understand. Think of it as a puzzle, I would tell them, an intellectual game. Or I would have told them, were it a game, which it is not. If they were here, if I were lecturing, how I would perplex them. I could work my students into a frenzy. Every ambiguity, every shifting awareness. I could draw so much from the poems. I could be so powerful. The poetry of the early 17th century, what has been called a metaphysical school, considers an intractable mental puzzle by exercising the outstanding human faculty of the era, namely wit. The greatest English poet, some would say, was John Donne. In the Holy Sonnets, Donne applied his capacious, agile wit to the larger aspects of the human experience. Life, death, and God. In his poems, metaphysical quandaries are addressed, but never resolved. Listen to the end of this sonnet. O God, O, of thine only worthy blood, and my tears make the heavenly Lethean flood, and drown in it's black memory, that thou remember them some claim as debt. I think it mercy if thou wilt forget. The sonnet has a brilliant mind, and he plays the part convincingly, but in the end he finds God's forgiveness hard to believe, so he crawls under a rock to hide. A typical prayer would plead, "Remember me, O Lord." This point is nicely explicated in an article by Richard Strider, a former student of mine who once sat where you do now, although I dare say he was awake, in the May 8th, 1989 issue of Modern Philology. True believers ask to be remembered by God. The speaker of this sonnet asks God to forget. The speaker does not need to hide from God's judgment, only to accept God's forgiveness. It is very simple, suspiciously simple. We want to correct the speaker, to remind him of the assurance of salvation. But it's too late. The poetic encounter is over. We're left to our own consciences. Have we outwitted Donne? Or have we been outwitted?
Miss Bering?
Will the poet...
Miss Bering?
What is it?
You have to go down for a test. Jason just called. They want another ultrasound. They're concerned about a bowel obstruction. Is it okay if I come in?
No, not now.
I'm sorry, but they want it now.
Not right now. It's not supposed to be now.
Yes, they want to do it now.
It should not be now. I am in the middle of this. I have this planned for now. Not an ultrasound. No more tests. We've covered that.
I know, but they need for it to be now. It won't take long, and it isn't a bad procedure. Why don't you just come along?
I do not want to go now.
Miss Baring.
Name.
Bearing, Kalikian.
It'll just be a minute.
Time for your break?
Yep.
Take a break. This is my play's last scene, care heavens appoint, my pilgrimage's last mile, and by race idly get quickly run. Have this last pace, and gluttonous death will instantly unjoint my span's last inch, my minute's last point, my body and soul. John Donne, 1609. I have always particularly liked that poem, in the abstract. Now I find the image of my minute's last point a little too, shall we say, pointed. I don't mean to complain, but I'm becoming very sick. Very, very sick. Ultimately sick, as it were. In everything I have done, I've been steadfast, resolute. Some would say in the extreme. Now, as you can see, I'm distinguishing myself in illness. I have survived 8 treatments of hexamethylphosphosyl and vinplantin at the full dose, ladies and gentlemen. I have broken the record. I have become something of a celebrity. Kalikian and Jason are simply delighted. I think they foresee celebrity status for themselves upon the appearance of the journal article they will no doubt write about me. But I flatter myself. The article will not be about me. It will be about my ovaries. It will be about my peritoneal cavity, which, despite their best intentions, is now crawling with cancer. What we have come to think of as me is, in fact, just the specimen jar, just the dust jacket, just the white piece of paper that bears the little black marks. My next line is supposed to be something like this. It's such a relief to get back to my room after those infernal tests. This is hardly true. It would be a relief to be a cheerleader on her way to Daytona Beach for spring break. Get back to my room after those infernal tests is just the next thing that happens. Oh, God. It is such a relief to get back to my goddamn bed after those goddamn tests.
Professor Baring, just wanted to check the INO. 456.5. Okay. And how are you feeling today?
Fine.
That's great. Just great.
How are my fluids?
Pretty good. No kidney involvement yet, and that's pretty amazing with Hex and Vin.
How will you know when the kidneys are involved?
Lots of in, not much out.
That's simple.
Oh, no way. Compromised kidney function is a fairly complex reaction. I'm just simplifying it for you.
Thank you.
Well, we're supposed to.
Bedside manner?
Yeah, there's a whole course on it in med school. It's required. Colossal waste of time for researchers.
I can imagine. Jason? What were you just saying?
When?
Never mind.
Professor Bering?
Yes?
Are you experiencing confusion or any short-term memory loss?
Oh, no.
Sure?
Yes. I was just wondering, why cancer?
Why cancer?
Well, why not open heart surgery?
Oh, yeah. Why not plumbing? Why not run a lube rack for all the surgeons know about Homo sapiens sapiens? No way. Cancer's the only thing I ever wanted.
Oh?
No, really. Cancer is, well...
Awesome?
Yeah, that's it. It is. It is awesome. I mean, how does it do it? The intracellular regulatory mechanisms, especially for proliferation and differentiation, the malignant neoplasia just don't get it. I mean, you can grow normal cells in tissue culture in the lab, and they replicate just enough to make a nice confluent monolayer. They divide 20 times or 50 times, but eventually they conk out. When you grow cancer cells, I mean, they never stop. No contact inhibition whatsoever. They just pile up and just keep replicating forever. It's got a funny name. You want to know what it is?
No, what?
Immortality in culture.
Oh, my. Sounds like a symposium.
Well, it's an error in judgment, in a molecular way. Why? I mean, even on the prostatic level, the normal cell interactions are so subtle that they'll take your breath away. Golden brown algae, for instance, the lowest multicellular life form on Earth, they're idiots. And it's incredible. It's perfect. What's up with cancer cells? I mean, the smartest guys in the world with the best labs, funding, they don't know what to make of it.
What about you?
Me? Well, I've got a couple ideas, things I'm kicking around. I mean, wait till I get a lab of my own if I can survive this fellowship.
The part with the human beings?
Yeah, everybody's got to go through it. All the great researchers, they want us to be able to converse intelligently with the clinicians, as though researchers were the impediments. The clinicians are such troglodytes, so smarmy. We have to hold hands to discuss creatinine clearance. I mean, just cut the crap, I say.
Jason, are you going to be sorry when do you ever miss people?
Well, everybody asks that, especially girls.
And what do you tell them?
Well, I tell them yes.
Are they persuaded? Some. I see. And what do you say when a patient is apprehensive, frightened?
Of who?
Never mind.
Professor Bering, who's the President of the United States?
I'm fine. Really. It's all right.
Are you sure? I mean, I could order a test and we can check out to make sure that...
No. I'm fine.
All right, well, look. I've got to go. Just keep pushing the fluids. Try for 2,000 a day, okay?
Okay. To use your word, okay. So, the young doc, like the senior researcher, prefers research to humanity. At the same time, the senior scholar, in her pathetic state as a simpering victim, wishes the young doctor would take more interest in personal contact. Now, I suppose we shall see through a series of flashbacks that the senior scholar ruthlessly denied her simpering students the touch of human kindness she now seeks. Now then, how would you characterize you?
Huh?
How would you characterize the animating force of the sonnet?
Huh?
In this sonnet, what is the principal poetic device? I'll give you a hint. It has nothing to do with football. But what propels the sonnet? Now, did I say, you're 19 years old, you're so young, you don't know a sonnet from a cheesesteak? By no means. You, young man, you can come to this class prepared, or you can excuse yourself from this class, this department, and this university. Do not think for a moment that I will tolerate anything in between. I was teaching him a lesson. So, we have another instance of John Donne's agile wit at work, not so much resolving the issues of life and God as reveling in their complexity.
But why?
Why what?
Why does Donne make everything so complicated? No. Really, why?
You know, someone asked me that every year. It was always one of the smart ones. What can I say? Well, young lady, what do you think?
I think it's like he's hiding. I think he's really confused. I don't know. Maybe he's scared. So he hides behind all this complicated stuff, hides behind his wit.
Hiding behind wit?
I mean, if it's really something you're sure of, say it was simple, simply.
Well, perhaps he is suspicious of simplicity.
Perhaps, but that's pretty stupid.
That observation, despite its infelicitous phrasing, contained the seed of a perspicacious remark. Go on, young lady.
It's like the more you hide, the less... No, wait. The more you're getting closer, although you don't know it, and a simple thing is there. You see what I mean?
Lost it.
Professor Bering, can I talk to you for a minute?
You may.
I need to ask for an extension on my paper. I'm sorry. I mean, I know your policy, but you see, I got a call this morning and...
Don't tell me your grandmother died.
You knew?
It was a guess.
I have to go home.
Do what you will. The paper is due when it is due. I don't know. I feel so much... What is the word? I look back, I see these scenes, and It was late at night, the graveyard shift. Susie was on. I could hear her in the hall. I wanted her to come and see me, create a little emergency. Nothing dramatic. It worked.
Miss Baring, is that you beeping at 4 in the morning? Did that wake you up? I'm sorry. It just gets occluded sometimes.
I was awake.
You were? What's the trouble, sweetheart?
Now, do not think for a minute that anyone calls me sweetheart. But then, I allowed it. Oh, Susie, I don't know.
You can't sleep?
No, I just keep thinking.
Oh, if you do that too much, you can get confused.
I know. I can't figure things out. I'm in a quandary, having these doubts.
What you're doing is very hard.
Yeah, but hard things are what I like best.
It's not the same. It's like it's out of control, isn't it?
I'm scared.
Oh, honey, of course you are.
I once...
I know, it's hard.
I don't feel sure of myself anymore.
And you used to feel sure?
Oh, yes, I used to feel sure.
Vivian, it's all right. I know, it hurts. I know. It's all right. Do you want a tissue? It's all right. Vivian, would you like a popsicle?
Yes, please.
I'll get it for you. I'll be right back.
Thank you. The epithelial cells in my GI tract have been killed by the chemo. The cold popsicle feels good. It's something I can digest, and it helps keep me hydrated, for your information. Here, you share half with me.
You sure?
Yes.
Thanks. When I was a kid, we used to get these from a truck. The man would come around and ring his bell, and we'd all run over. Then we'd sit on the curb and eat our popsicles. Pretty profound, huh?
It sounds nice.
Vivian, there's something we need to talk about. You need to think about.
My cancer's not being cured, is it? Never expected it to be. Did they?
Well, they thought the drugs would make the tumor get smaller, and it has gotten a lot smaller. But the problem is that it started in new places, too. They've learned a lot for the research. It was the best thing they could give you, the strongest drugs. There just isn't a good treatment for what you have yet, for advanced ovarian. I'm sorry. They should have explained this.
I knew. Really.
You did?
Well, I read between the lines.
What we have to think about is your code status. What you want them to do if your heart stops.
Oh, well...
You can be full code, which means if your heart stops, they call code blue, and the code team will come and resuscitate you and take you to intensive care until you stabilize again. Or you can be do not resuscitate. So if your heart stops, we'll just let it. You'll be DNR, You can think about it, but I wanted to present you both choices before Kalikian and Jason talk to you.
You don't agree about this?
Well, they like to save lives, so anything's okay as long as life continues. Doesn't matter if you're hooked up to a million machines. Kalikian is a great researcher and everything, and the fellows like Jason, they're really smart. It's really an honor for them to work with her. They always want to know more things.
I always wanted to know more things. I'm a scholar. Or I was when I had shoes, when I had eyebrows.
Well, okay then. You'll be full code, that's fine.
No, don't complicate the matter.
It's okay. It's up to you.
Let it stop.
Really?
Yes.
So if your heart stops beating...
Just let it stop.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. I'll get Kalikian to give the order and then...
Susie?
Uh-huh.
You're still going to take care of me, aren't you?
Of course, sweetheart. Don't you worry.
Now, that certainly was a maudlin display. Popsicles? Sweetheart? I can't believe my life has become so corny. It can't be helped. I don't see any other way. We're discussing life and death, and not in the abstract either. We're discussing my life and my death. Now is not the time for verbal swordplay, for unlikely flights of imagination and wildly shifting perspectives, for metaphysical conceit, for wit. And nothing could be worse than a detailed scholarly analysis, erudition, interpretation, complication. Now is the time for simplicity. Now is the time for, dare I say it, kindness. I thought being extremely smart would take care of it. I see that I've been found out. I'm scared. Oh, God. I want to hide. I just want to curl up in a little ball. I want to tell you how it feels. I want to explain it, to use my words. It's as if I can't. There aren't. I'm like a student, and this is the final exam, and I don't know what to put down because I don't understand the question, and I'm running out of time. The time for extreme measures has come. I'm in terrible pain. Susie says that I need to begin aggressive pain management if I'm to stand it. It. Such a little word. In this case, I think it signifies being alive. Just say it, Vivian. It hurts like hell. It really does. Oh, God. Oh, God.
It's okay. I paged Kalikian up here, and we'll get you some meds.
Oh, it's so painful. So much pain. So much pain.
I know. It's okay. Just try and clear your mind. It's all right. We'll get you a patient-controlled analgesic. It's a little pump. You push a little button, and you decide how much medication you want. Importantly, it's very simple, and it's up to you.
Dr. Bering, Susie?
Time for patient-controlled analgesic. The pain is killing her.
Dr. Bering, are you in pain?
Seriously, am I in pain? I don't believe this. Yes, I'm in goddamn pain. I have a fever of 101, spiking to 104, and I have bone metastases in my pelvis and both femurs. There's cancer eating my goddamn bones, and I did not know that there could be this pain on the earth.
I want a morphine drip.
What about patient-controlled? She could be more alert.
Ordinarily, yes, but in her case, no.
But
She earned a rest. Morphine, 10, push now, and start 10 an hour. Dr. Bering, try to relax. We're going to help you through this. Don't worry. Dr. Bering? Excellent.
Hi, how are you feeling today? These are my last coherent lines. I'll have to leave the actions to the professionals. It came so quickly, after taking so long. Not even time for a proper conclusion. And death, capital D, shall be no more, semicolon. Death, capital D, thou shalt die, exclamation point. Sorry. I trust this will have a soporific effect.
well, I don't know about that, but it sure makes you sleepy. What's so funny? What?
It's that soporific means makes you sleepy.
It does?
Yes.
Well, that was pretty dumb.
No. It was funny.
Yeah, I guess so, in a dumb sort of way. I never would have gotten it. I'm glad you explained it.
I'm a teacher.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah, she was a great scholar. Wrote tons of books, articles, was the head of everything. 275 to 520. Let up the hydration. She won't be drinking anymore. If we can keep her kidneys from fading. I had a lot of respect for her, which is more than I can say for the entire biochemistry department.
What do you want, dextrose?
I give her saline.
Oh, okay.
Gave a hell of a lecture. No notes, not a word out of place. It was pretty impressive. A lot of students hated her, though.
Why?
Well, she wasn't exactly a cupcake.
Well, she hadn't been a cupcake here either. Now, Ms. Bering, Jason and I are here, and we're going to insert a catheter to collect your urine. It's not going to hurt, don't you worry.
like she can hear you.
It's just nice to do.
8 cycles of Hex and Vin at the full dose. You know, Kalikian didn't think it was possible. I wish they could all get through it at full throttle. Then we could really have some data.
You know, she's not what I imagined. I thought somebody who studied poetry would be sort of dreamy, you know?
Oh, no, not the way she did it. It felt more like boot camp than English class. This guy, John Dunn, was incredibly intense. Like your whole brain had to be in knots before you even get it. Listen, if there's one thing that we learned in 17th century poetry, it's that you can forget about the sentimental stuff. I mean, enzyme kinetics was more poetic than Bering's class. Besides, you can't think about all that meaning of life garbage all the time or you'd just go nuts.
Do you believe in it?
In what?
Oh, I don't know. The meaning of life garbage.
What do they teach you in nursing school? She's out of it. Shouldn't be too long. All right, you done here?
Yeah, I'll just tidy up.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye, Jace.
Vivian? Vivian, it's Edward. Vivian?
Oh, God. Professor Ashford? Oh, God.
I'm in town visiting my great-grandson, who is celebrating his 5th birthday. I went to see you at your office, and they directed me here. I've been walking all over town. I'd forgotten how early it gets chilly here.
I feel so bad.
Oh, I know you do. I can see. Oh, dear. There, Vivian. There, Vivian. It's a windy day. Don't worry, dear. Let's see. Shall I recite to you? Would you like that? I'll recite something by Donne.
No.
Very well. Little Geoffrey is very sweet. Gets into everything. Let's see. The Runaway Bunny by Margaret Wise Brown. Pictures by Clement Hurd. Copyright 1942. First Harper Trophy edition 1972. Now then. Once there was a little bunny who wanted to run away. So he said to his mother, "I am running away." "If you run away," said his mother, "I will run after you, for you are my little bunny." "If you run after me," said the little bunny, "I will become a fish in a trout stream, and I will swim away from you." "If you become a fish in a trout stream," said his mother, "I will become a fisherman, and I will fish for you." Look at that, a little allegory of the soul. No matter where it hides, God will find it. See, Vivian? If you become a fisherman, said the little bunny, I will be a bird and fly away from you. If you become a bird and fly away from me, said his mother, I will be a tree that you come home to. Very clever. Shucks, said the little bunny. I might as well stay where I am and be your little bunny. And so he did. Have a carrot, said the mother bunny. Wonderful. It's time to go. And flights of angels sing thee to thy rest.
Professor Bering, how are you feeling today? 3 p.m. Hydration totals 2,000 in, 30 out. Uh-oh. That's it. Kidney's gone. Professor Bering. Highly unresponsive. Wait a second. Jesus Christ. Call a code! Code 4575. Code blue, room 707. Code blue, room 707. Dr. Posner, P-O-S-N-E-R. Hurry up. 1, 2,
Code blue,
3,
room 707.
4,
Code blue,
5.
room 707.
What are you doing?
A goddamn code. Get over here. 1.
She's DNR.
She's research.
She's
1.
no code.
Ow! God damn it, Susie!
She's no code.
Oh, God!
Cleveland put the order in. You saw it. You were right there, Jason. Oh, God, the code. 4575. Cancel code, room 707. Sue Monahan, primary nurse. Cancel code. Dr. Posner is here.
Oh, God.
Get the board. Over here. Over here. Over here.
The unit staff out.
Over here.
Cancel code room 707. Cancel
Get the
code
unit staff
room
out
707.
Bicarbamp.
1, 2,
I got
3,
it. I got it.
4,
Hurry up.
5.
I got it.
Come on.
Get ready to shock.
No, seriously. Over here.
Come on.
1,
Get ready to shock.
2.
Stop.
Where is it?
Patient is
No!
DNR.
No! Stop doing this! Stop!
Oh, keep it going.
Bicarbamp.
Oh,
2,
yeah.
3.
You got a pulse? You got a pulse?
No pulse.
She's no
Seriously?
code. Order was given.
Get ready to shock.
Look at this.
Almost ready.
Do not resuscitate. Kolikian.
I made a mistake!
Almost ready.
No
Who
code.
the hell?
Patient is no code.
Who the hell are you?
Sue Monahan,
stop?
primary nurse.
Let me see the
stop?
goddamn chart.
Huh? They kidding?
Patient is no code. Get away from her.
Do not resuscitate.
Oh, God.
Serious?
Order was put in yesterday.